If you're watching this video, it might not be a coincidence. The information you are about to hear may sound surprising or even tough to hear, but those who manage to understand the message will benefit immensely. This video could be a key to unlocking new dimensions of understanding in your life. All you have to do is watch with undivided attention and don't skip any parts. You'll thank me later. Let's start. Have you ever felt completely demoralized and defeated by something outside your control? Like the world came crashing down and there was nothing you could do about it? Well, that's exactly how Zeno must have felt around 300 BC. He was a fabulously wealthy trader who had spent decades building his fortune. But on a routine voyage from Phoenicia to Athens, his ship carrying all his valuable goods sank in a freak storm. Just like that, Zeno's entire life's work was violently washed away. His vast riches were now at the bottom of the sea, an incredible disaster that would break the spirit of anyone, except Zeno. His reaction? Remarkable calm and inner peace. While you or I might have raged at the injustice or fallen into tormenting depression, Zeno simply accepted what he could not change. This formed the core principle of the ancient philosophy he went on to found, Stoicism. And let me be clear from the start, Stoicism is not about being a robot, devoid of emotions or joy. It's about cultivating an unshakable inner strength and resilience so that no external event, no matter how dramatic or painful, can ever disturb your firm foundation of tranquility and virtue. Chapter 1. The Ancient Master Key to Finding Peace. See, after his life-shattering shipwreck, Zeno started drawing inspiration from the teachings of other great philosophers like Socrates. He realized that while we ultimately have zero control over external circumstances, like accidents, losses, or the behavior of others, we do have full control over how we respond internally. By mastering our mindset and disciplining our judgments, emotions, and desires, we become utterly unshakable. It's like we're in the eye of the hurricane while chaos spins around us, but we remain steady and grounded. This was Zeno's revolutionary insight in founding Stoicism, that attaining lasting peace and resilience is an inside job, not dependent on external events. As he put it, man conquers the world by conquering himself. And in the centuries since the Stoics first started teaching in the Stoa Poikile walkways of ancient Athens, their profound philosophy has only gained more modern relevance and scientific validation. Chapter 2. How you wrongly give away your power. Now you might be thinking, aren't the Stoics just emotionally numb losers who resign themselves to pain and suffering? Doesn't fighting back and raging against injustice show more strength? Quite the opposite. The trap most of us fall into is expending 99% of our energy on factors entirely outside our control. Chance events, other people's behavior, forces of nature. We do this because we've been conditioned from birth to believe things like success is defined by career, status, looks, money, fame. The purpose of life is to maximize pleasure and comfort. You'd be so much happier if you could just change or control event X. So when we inevitably fail to control these external forces and check all the happiness boxes, we are sent into tailspins of anxiety, bitterness, and frustration. Stoicism liberates you from this rigged game. The truth, there's only one area of life you control. Through simple logic and self-evident reasoning, the Stoics made a profound realization. You don't control your circumstances or what happens around you. The only thing in your control is how you respond internally with your judgments, desires, and actions. As Epictetus, the influential former slave who became a Stoic teacher, put it bluntly, there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power or our will. Seems obvious, right? But realizing this truth at the deepest level is incredibly liberating. Suddenly, you're no longer beholden to all those external conditions for happiness or torture. The causes of suffering and tranquility were internal all along. This insight formed the basis for Stoicism's pioneering work in cultivating resilience, grit, and emotional self-mastery. Let's look at some of their timeless training exercises for developing an unshakable mind. Chapter 3. The Top 5 Stoic Power Practices. 1. Negative Visualization. Take time each day to vividly imagine losing what's most precious to you: your job, home, relationships. The visceral exercise prepares you emotionally for life's inevitable punches and breeds gratitude for what you have now. 2. Self-denial practices. Purposefully withstand small discomforts like cold showers or eating bland foods. This training separates needs from wants, so you detach from dependence on luxuries or comforts for happiness. 3. Mindful self-talk. In moments of pain or frustration, coach yourself through mantras like "I cannot control this" or "This too shall pass" to avoid spiraling rumination. 4. Fear rehearsal. Vividly visualize your worst fears like public humiliation or sickness until you become desensitized to what you cannot avoid. This removes their apocalyptic power over you. 5. View from above. Step back and view life's turmoils from a cosmic perspective, realizing their insignificance in the grand scale of the universe. This cultivates humble pragmatism. Training your mind and spirit like a soldier or athlete prepares you for any of life's calamities, with the same calm, undisturbed grace as Zeno losing his entire fortune. That's the essence of being unshakable. Chapter 4. The hidden strength in embracing discomfort. Now you may think this Stoic inner mastery comes at the expense of ever feeling pleasure, comfort, or joy, just white-knuckling it through one dispassionate hardship after another. In reality, the opposite is true. By voluntarily exposing yourself to constructive discomforts, you develop far deeper appreciation for life's simple joys. Going an evening without dessert makes that chocolate cake downright euphoric when you do have it. Sleeping on the hard floor one night makes your plush bed feel like a luxury cloud. Taking a frigid shower in the morning makes you far more grateful for warmth. The Stoics recognized that the first obstacle to lasting happiness is forming addictions and entitlements to creature comforts. Constantly indulging in pleasures creates a hedonic treadmill, where satisfactions taper off and you constantly need bigger hits. Feeling deprived sets you up for perpetual restlessness, but willingly and temporarily pulling back from indulgences. That's what creates unshakable contentment and appreciation for life's simplest delights. Stoicism is no philosophy of harsh deprivation. It's mastering the inner game to fully enjoy beauty, virtue, and wisdom wherever you find it. Like Cato the Younger said, "It is not the man who has too little who is poor, but the one who hankers after more." Chapter 5. How to be unshakable under any circumstances. Let's look at how these timeless Stoic principles might apply to some common life situations. Going through a bad breakup. Instead of uncontrollably spiraling into anxiety, bitterness, or depression, you turn the breakup into an exercise in shaping your inner response. Grieve the loss with the self-imposed time limit of a week or two, but then refocus fully on recentering yourself on virtue, purpose, and moving forward, areas in your control. Getting laid off. So many tie their self-worth and identity to a job title. But to a Stoic, a layoff is no cataclysmic loss, but an expected part of life's cycles. You'd feel sadness at the transition, but quickly remind yourself the only lasting assets are your character and self-respect, which no circumstances can take away. Then you pivot to an opportunity for growth or reinvention. Dealing with a personal tragedy. Rather than raging against the injustice or wallowing in victimhood, the Stoic derives strength from the dichotomy of control. Grieve the pain fully, but then accept you cannot undo the past event. Only rise with renewed grace. Draw power from this adversity, putting you squarely in control of your mindset, virtue, and sense of meaning. At a deep level, no circumstances, however shocking, stressful, or tragic, can ever damage your freedom to respond with resilience, equanimity, and wisdom. That is the essence of being truly unshakable. Chapter 6. How Stoicism upgraded to modern life. Now you may think philosophies originating from ancient Greece and Rome have no relevance for our modern lives filled with social media, consumerism, and rapid change. But you'd be wrong. Stoicism's foundational teachings have hugely influenced modern psychologies and life practices, the Stoic roots of modern therapies. At its core, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is about identifying and reframing the irrational thoughts and stories that cause us anxiety and sadness. It's about realizing you can't control the trigger event itself, only how you internalize and respond to it. Sound familiar? That's straight out of the ancient Stoic playbook, separating what you can control, your mindset, from what you can't, external events. CBT's heavy emphasis on emotional self-regulation through logic and reasoning has deep Stoic roots. Likewise, Viktor Frankl's logotherapy is centered on helping people find meaning and purpose beyond their circumstances. Again, a core Stoic principle of transcending external events. As Frankl put it, everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. In dark times, Frankl drew immense strength from Stoic role models like Epictetus, who endured slavery and persecution with grace and dignity. Their philosophies gave him the resilience to survive the Nazi death camps, social media, and the modern ego trap. Speaking of Epictetus, his quote, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants," is painfully relevant today. We're drowned in a culture that endlessly dangles status symbols, luxury goods, and idealized social media personas as requirements for a good life. Meanwhile, the Stoics would argue true freedom and contentment comes from drastically scaling back our desires and attachments to people, possessions, fixed ideals of how life should be. Because the more you fixate on checking those boxes, the more psychologically imprisoned you become. No person has the power to have everything they want, but it is possible to want only what you can acquire and accomplish, as Marcus Aurelius wrote. Stoicism was radically countercultural in eliminating this anxiety of artificiality and scarcity, and those ego prisons have only gotten larger and more seductive in our age of unchecked materialism, greed, and digital posturing. Chapter 7. The Ancient Path to Living More with Less. In a zeitgeist obsessed with exponential growth, getting more, upgrading constantly, and self-aggrandizement, the ancient Stoics were revolutionary in preaching precisely the opposite. Wealth consists not in having more, but in having enough. Rather than indiscriminately expanding their wants and attachments, the Stoics put the focus on aggressively scaling back and placing gratitude in whatever they deemed sufficient. They voluntarily exposed themselves to modest discomforts like cold showers and fasting to ensure they didn't become prisoners of their cravings. Think about how liberating and empowering it would be to give zero psychological attachment to luxury cars, supersizing your home, or owning tons of possessions just to keep up. You'd instantly free your life energy to focus on what truly matters most. And from a psychological perspective, studies show that those who embrace voluntary moderation actually enjoy life's simple pleasures far more intensely. The Stoic path to a unified human family. While our modern world has made incredible strides in connecting humanity across all borders, we've also become alarmingly tribalized and polarized across social, political, racial, and economic lines. Ideology and party loyalty too often trump logic and universal human dignity. Once again, Stoicism had the revolutionary antidote to this divisiveness baked into its very foundations over 2,000 years ago. The Stoics viewed all of humanity as one unified whole, with superficial differences like wealth, gender, race, and status as immaterial when it came to the core traits of reason, virtue, and dignity we all share. That's why Stoic teachers from Musonius Rufus to Seneca flouted conventions to provide philosophy teachings to women, slaves, and even gladiators, radicals for their time. In their view, we were all deserving citizens of the world, bound by our common reason and humanity above all arbitrary distinctions. In this spirit of cosmopolitanism, the Stoics actively mentored students from all backgrounds with an ethos of justice, egalitarianism, and human brotherhood. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "We were born to work together like feet, hands, and eyes, like the two rows of teeth in our mouths." Imagine if that Stoic recognition of our common dignity and mission could unite us today like a community of communities across all divisions. How unshakable humanity would be. Chapter 8. 4 timeless Stoic virtues to cultivate. While the Stoic philosophers taught numerous exercises and doctrines, they focused on living up to 4 core virtues. 1. Wisdom. Expanding your rational mind while disciplining your irrational fears, anger, and damaging impulses, applying logic and perspective to all of life's challenges. 2. Courage. Having the fortitude to not just endure pain and adversity gracefully, but to actively lean into difficulties as a means for growth, cultivating resilience and grit through voluntary challenges. 3. Temperance. Practicing moderation, detachment, and self-restraint, dramatically reducing wants, cravings, and external attachments to find deeper fulfillment and appreciation. 4. Justice. Acting with integrity, dignity, and moral uprightness while respecting the common humanity and rights of all people. Being a good citizen who contributes to society. At every turn, Stoicism emphasizes internal mastery and virtue over any external trappings of wealth, fame, or status. When you live up to these core virtues through your actions and character, you become truly indomitable no matter what the world throws at you. Chapter 9. How to get started becoming indomitable. While Stoicism is a profound philosophy, you don't have to take an academic, studious approach as a beginner. The best way to start implementing Stoicism is through small, habitual practices that gradually rewire your psychology. Wake up and recite the Stoic dichotomy of control. I have complete control over my thoughts, emotions, and actions, but I cannot control external events, nature, or what other people do. At night, review your day's turmoils through a Stoic lens. That rude person's behavior was outside my control, but I chose to respond with self-restraint and dignity in my control. Purposefully introduce small discomforts into your week, from taking cold showers to fasting to voluntary silence for periods. These shock-proofs your comfort addictions and attachments. When facing challenges, continuously reframe them with Stoic mantras. This setback is only temporary. Either I'll get through it, or it will get me through something greater. I need not be anxious or bitter in advance. Daily journaling through the lens of Stoic wisdom helps cement an unwavering perspective. As you go through life documenting what you can and cannot control, your mind crystallizes into unshakable clarity. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." By transforming habitual thoughts and responses, you transform your inner reality into an impregnable fortress. Stoicism is about progressively strengthening your character, like tempered steel, one disciplined layer at a time, until no external fires can faze you. You achieve total psychological resilience and freedom through consistent practice, and the pristine peace it yields makes the journey well worth it. Chapter 10. The Eternal Power of Unshakable Perspective. While the core Stoic teachings were conceived over 2 millennia ago, their profound insights into human nature, resilience, and our ability to shape reality from the inside out have never been more vital. In an age where anxiety, entitlement, addiction, and reactivity run rampant, Stoicism provides the empowering countervoice. It's the timeless reminder that no external accomplishments, status symbols, or comforts can ever satisfy your spirit or make you unshakable. That transcendent power emerges only from confronting life's inevitable turbulence, pain, and uncertainty with the deepest forms of self-mastery, wisdom, and perspective. That is the eternal essence of being a true modern Stoic, staying steadfast and mighty no matter what storms assail you. As Seneca advised, "What progress, you ask, have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself." Take the first step in embarking on that journey to becoming truly indomitable. The way forward is eternally carved. All you must do is start walking it. The profound power of Stoic acceptance. One of the most challenging yet liberating concepts in Stoicism is the practice of accepting whatever happens with tranquil equanimity. No railing against misfortune or catastrophizing events beyond your control. Simply acknowledging reality as it is. On the surface, this can seem like resigned defeatism. Why shouldn't we fight against injustice and unfairness? Don't resignation and inaction perpetuate a broken status quo? The Stoic response is that rejection of reality is itself delusional and irrational. By struggling against the inherent nature of things, you're only inflicting unnecessary turmoil upon yourself. As Epictetus taught, make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. Some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. The profoundly liberating aspect of Stoic acceptance is that it empowers you to respond constructively to any circumstance. Rather than dissipating energy raging against what you cannot control, you focus with intensity only on your sphere of influence. Losing a loved one is understandably devastating, but by accepting this tragedy occurred within the inevitable realities of life and death, the Stoic grieves fully, yet avoids compounding their suffering through denial or toxic bitterness. Their energy turns toward responding with wisdom, fortitude, and embracing their mortality with new urgency. Losing a job or opportunity is disappointing, yet ultimately reveals itself to be just another impermanent external condition. A Stoic doesn't fuel anger or victimhood, which are self-created prisons. They accept this loss for what it is, then decisively move to make the most of their enlightened circumstances. True agency and determination arise through this clear-eyed stance, not resentful rejections of what is. As Marcus Aurelius learned to ask himself, what is badness itself, but a wandering, incomplete reasoning about that which happens in the world? Chapter 11. The Art of Reframing and Perspective. One of Stoicism's most powerful gifts is the ability to shift our perspective on any event or circumstance, finding new light in the seeming darkness. Where others are crushed by obstacles, the Stoic alchemizes them into fuel for their growth. Consider Musonius Rufus, the revered Stoic teacher of Epictetus. Rufus was forced to go into repeated exiles during the reigns of Nero and Vespasian, ripped from his home and livelihood. Yet rather than lapsing into resentment or disempowerment, Rufus stayed grounded. If a man transfers from one place to another, it involves only a change of air, not a change in his governing reason. Here too there is air, and here too a governing reason can live if it has the source of life within itself. No circumstance or cruelty inflicted upon him could shake Rufus's indomitable, portable fortitude of spirit. Everything he needed to respond with courage and wisdom lay within his command, regardless of externals. Similarly, the formerly enslaved Epictetus summed up his incredible resilience by declaring, "I must die, that's all there is to it. But must I die battered and beaten as well?" His shift was to always ask whether he would meet his fate with grace and acceptance, or resistance and toxicity. We all face unavoidable mortality, but what determines our nobility is solely our state of mind. Training to see opportunity within adversity. Developing this enlightened perspective takes regular practice at first, but gradually becomes reinforced as a conditioned reflex of character. The modern research story. Editing method based in CBT teaches techniques for continually reframing negative self-talk toward more empowered narratives. On the Stoic path, your daily training might sound like, rather than angrily ruminating on a rude person's behavior, immediately asking, how can I respond with more patience and wisdom? When feeling crushed by failure or rejection, coaching yourself, this has happened and is outside my control. What opportunities for growth is this revealing to me? Upon facing any painful setback, running it through the filter of, will this matter in a year, in 5 years? How can I maintain dignity and virtue regardless? The Stoic always seeks to alchemize any circumstance, no matter how grim or infuriating, into an opportunity to strengthen their character, wisdom and tranquility through their chosen response. As Seneca advised, the art is turning ill fortune into the way, not the thing itself. In the story of the Stoic Agrippinus being warned of execution by Nero, his friend lamented, "What an unjust act!" But Agrippinus cut through his friend's surface judgment to focus solely on responding with dignity in the face of reality. "What in my case is unjust?" Agrippinus asked. "Is it that one man is bad and another good?" His steadfast acceptance of fate made his execution profound, elevating his friend's limited viewpoint. In each event, the Stoic finds opportunity for serenity or disturbed reactions based solely on their perspective and judgments rather than external events. That is their infinite power. Chapter 12. Voluntary hardship and anti-fragility. On a philosophical level, Stoicism's voluntary exposures to discomfort and hardship build psychological anti-fragility. Unlike simple resilience, which withstands shocks, the Stoic cultivates post-traumatic growth, actively benefiting from stressors by design. The signature Stoic practices of deliberately taking cold showers, sleeping on floors, fasting and rehearsing loss all function to toughen one's spirit and remove attachment to selfish comforts. The more you inure yourself to deliberate hardship, the less fragile you become from circumstantial misfortune. As Seneca wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" Just as an iron rod is repeatedly tempered and hardened through intensive heating and cooling, the Stoic forges their character over time to be impervious to external forces and cravings. Nothing can disrupt their equanimity if their every attachment to pleasure is removed. Contrast this intense inner work to modern fixations like comfort eating, anger numbing, and hedonic treadmilling for fleeting highs. The Stoic undertakes their harsh regimen enthusiastically to strip away every weakness and indulgence. Seeing the resulting freedom from fragility as the goal, pioneering Stoics like Cato and Musonius Rufus would patiently endure being drenched in frigid water and mock insults by students to inoculate themselves against any adversity. Their confidence stemmed directly from voluntarily confronting small constructive hardships by will alone. We may balk at such extreme practices today, yet in spirit, the Stoic commitment to deliberately inducing discomfort makes them permanently anti-fragile in mindset and existence. Modern psychology is only beginning to catch up on the power of voluntarily undertaking stresses. Chapter 13. The thrilling byproduct of worldly renunciation. An underappreciated gift of Stoicism is the profound joy, awe, and appreciation cultivated from detaching from the trivial world of appearances and embracing simplicity. Seneca, who was born in extreme poverty before becoming a wealthy advisor, proclaimed, "The great blessings of mankind are within us and within our reach, and we need only seek them, and they will not remain hidden." Through their practice of simplicity, frugality, and inner exploration, the Stoics experienced a childlike rediscovery of the miraculous in everything. Ordinary phenomena like sunrises, seasons changing, or a warm meal took on profundity when experienced without baggage or craving. The Stoic sage Chrysippus achieved such equanimity that he could say, upon accidentally kicking his servant, "I didn't mean to strike you, but even if I had meant to do it, I would have done nothing strange." To be so rooted in virtue that transgressions against social norms held no weight, this was ultimate freedom. This awestruck attunement to the natural world and the present moment allowed the Stoics to live with radiant, authentic joy despite their material poverty. With no attachment to pride or possessions, life's simple pleasures like connections with loved ones or insights from studying philosophy filled them with tremendous gratitude. Contrast this to our modern dissatisfaction and emptiness, where even amid abundance we take nature's miracles like sunsets or the cosmos for granted. We desensitize to beauty through craving ever-escalating highs and indulgences. The Stoics reveled in the primordial to sidestep this hedonic treadmill. As Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." So much modern suffering stems from stressing over ambitions and attachments to how life should unfold, robbing us of the tranquil fulfillment right before our eyes when we pause and behold the ordinary sublime. By shedding our toxic fixations on status, reputation, and material success, we become empowered to touch the transcendent in each temporary breath and transition. This was the greatest gift of the Stoic path, regaining our childlike openness to life's magic in its purest forms before we burdened it with neurotic projections. Ultimately, studying Stoicism is an invitation to discover, as Epictetus said, the true nature of things. And the true nature of life is a miraculous, eternally unfolding journey where our only required admission is the wisdom and wonder to appreciate it fully. No amount of misfortune, cruelty, or loss can rob us of this pristine inheritance available in each present moment. This recentering is the final liberation of the Stoic way, to unshackle ourselves from self-created prisons of the mind and reawaken to the thrilling simplicity of existence itself in all its cosmic grandeur. The trials and pursuits of our doings ultimately matter so little compared to resting at last in the enlightened peace of present being. And from that unwavering eye of the hurricane, we finally become indomitably impervious to life's transient storms. As Aurelius reminded himself, the universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. By continually reframing our judgments to accept this eternal flux with tranquil resilience, we alchemize any chaos into sublime order within, and in doing so we become truly unshakable in the deepest way conceivable. If you have made it this far, comment down below with the word 100% to confirm that you have received the knowledge from this video. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.